Okay, so today we are going to start the new chapter of physics, which is capacitor, the chapter number 9, capacitor. Alright, before diving deep into the capacitor, we should know the definition of capacitor, or what is capacitor, or what capacitor is used for. Alright, so capacitor is nothing but it is a device which is used to store the large amount of current, large amount of electric charges. Alright, it is nothing but yes, capacitor is a device which is used to store the large amount of electric charges, large amount of electric charges. All right, so capacitor is nothing but it is a device. All right, whenever you see a ter in the end, right, tor, ter, as like resistor, capacitor, whenever you are seeing this ter in the end of anything, that is basically a device, right? And whenever you are seeing a meter in the end, right, that is an instrument. So you are seeing here the ter in the end, this is a device. So the basic, the identification of device is the ter in the end of any word, right? The ter basically represents the device and meter represents the instrument. So here we are seeing ter, which means this is a device. It is a device which will gonna store the large amount of electric charges. We know that charge is nothing but charge is a property by what any other charge either attracts or repel, right? So charge is nothing but this is a property, due to which the other charges either attract or repel, is what we call the electric charge, right? So this is basically a property by what and any other charge either attracts or repels is what we call the charge, right? Then we have two basic types of charges. The positive and the negative, right? We have positive charge, and we have negative charge, right? Positive and negative charge. This is very important thing, that what charges attracts or what charges repels, right? Whenever you have same charges as like positive and positive, whenever you having same charge, they'll gonna repel. But whenever you have opposite charge as like plus and negative, they'll gonna attract each other. But again, if you have same charge as negative and negative, they'll gonna repel, right? They'll gonna repel since they are same charges. So same charges will always repel and different charges will gonna attract, as like positive charge will gonna repel, positive negative charge will gonna attract, and negative charge will gonna repel, right? So this is basically a property, is what we call the electric charge. So capacitor is nothing but it is a device which is used to store a large amount of electric charges. The capacitor is a plate which will gonna store the charges on it. We're going to store a charge on it. Now let's understand that by the help of diagram, right? So let me make the diagram here first. So we have basically two opposite parallel plates, two opposite charged parallel plates, right? Here on the one plate we have positive charge, positive, 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 right? And on another plate we have negative charge, right? Negative, 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 negative. They are separated by a very small distance, right? They both are separated by a very small distance d, right? And the negative plate of a capacitor is connected with the negative terminal of the battery, right? And the positive plate of the capacitor is connected with the positive terminal of the battery, right? So here we have positive terminal, and here we have negative terminal, right? So what we did, we basically said that we have two opposite parallel charge plates, right, which are separated by a very small distance called d. The negative plate of the capacitor is connected with the negative terminal of the battery, and the positive terminal of the capacitor is connected with the positive terminal of the battery with provided potential difference V volt, right? V volt. So the charges will gonna be directly proportional to the voltage, right? The charges will gonna be directly proportional to the voltage. Wait, to the voltage, right? Because as more as potential difference we're going to provide to it, it will going to attract, or it will going to store more charges on it, right? Because capacitor is a plate which will going to, or it is a device which will going to store the charges on it. It will going to store the electric charges on it. So this is the positive plate of the capacitor, this is the negative plate of the capacitor. They're going to store the electric charges on it. This is what we call the capacitor. So capacitor is nothing but it is a device which we're going to store the large amount of electric charges on it, right? As we're going to provide the potential difference V volt, as more potential difference we're going to provide to it, it will going to store more charges on it, right? So let's write this here. What I said, the charge stored on a plate of a capacitor is directly proportional to the potential difference provided to it, to the potential difference provided to it, right? So again, what did I say? The charge which is going to stored on a plate of the capacitor, we know that the plates of the capacitor will going to store the charges on it, right? Because capacitor is a device which is going to store the large amount of charges. So when it will going to store the charges on it, that charge would be directly proportional to the potential difference provided to it. This topic is very important in terms of MCQs. So every single point is the MCQ, right? So the charge stored on the plate of the capacitor would be directly proportional to the potential difference provided to it, right? So the charge stored on the capacitor would be directly proportional to the potential difference provided to it. Q is directly proportional to V, which means the charge is directly proportional to the potential difference provided to it. this is what we have discussed today in today's video. But in the next video we will gonna study about the capacitance, which is the ability of the capacitor, right? We're gonna continue our this equation. We're gonna remove this proportionality sign and we're gonna have our constant plus is equal to sign. That will be driving in the next video. This is what we have discussed today, all about basics of capacitor.